My name's Lucy Logan. I'm CEO and founder of a company called Foodcalc, which is a software as a service nutrition and allergen compliance solution for primarily chain restaurants. We've been in the food industry for 18 years and have always focused on the innovation of kind of bringing together tech and food and diners. So we've been very much sort of focused on the B2B space in the restaurant industry. So I was very fortunate that a dear friend of mine introduced me to working with Opus and yourself and some of your other team members. We had always just used consultants, throughout the world, if you will. And I was very much looking for someone to join the team as more of a sort of a technical co-founder, and found the referral to Opus through a friend of ours brought all of those key kind of capabilities and skill sets under one roof, which was Opus. We really needed to rebuild our platform. We wanted to accelerate and elevate the features and the services for our restaurants, and it came along at the same time of me moving cities and moving to Santa Barbara and meeting you. The challenges that we had faced with our sort of technical stack, or our development team, if you will, was that we really didn't have a cohesive one before we started working with Opus. We were sort of relying on individuals to come in off of Upwork or Fiverr or sort of the gig economy platforms. And it was a challenge because at the end of the day, they're just trying to fill a project, and we needed people to invest in the business model, invest in us. And so that was a big challenge that we needed to fix, is, investing in a team that was part of our passion. And we definitely found that, with yourself and your other team members. And I think, unfortunately, when you use the sort of the third-party gig economy solutions, they're great for very small, finite projects. And we wanted to rebuild our platform. We wanted to elevate the features for our customers. And that was not going to be under a 6 or 8 or 12-week project. So the continuity of having to keep swapping different consultants between different companies, we almost felt like we were restarting every couple of months. So that was a very important piece of Opus's relationship. Working with Opus obviously started through a referral from a friend, which I think that always kind of brings together a level of sort of trust. After meeting you and other team members, that was very apparent that that's important to you as well. I remember the first time we met, you came to the office and you sort of asked, what are you passionate about? What do you want to do? Where do you foresee this, platform and program going? You asked me the challenges. You asked what my North Star, and you took the time. So I think that was a really important piece for me to know that I could invest in the team. I in a very high level kind of non-emotional aspect, you have a very deep level of skill in your team, and I think that's really important. We can have one project, but you've got multiple people that are part of that project, and I'm not constantly looking around going, well, who's going to do the front end, who's going to do the API, who's going to think about the design. So you were really, I don't want to say like a plug and play, but you were, and I think for a small business like us, that was very important. I think the thing which I think is good, is there was always time put in before the project to do sort of statement of work or understanding, which you don't get from a third-party company or a consultant that you just pull off Upwork. They've got their very kind of finite list of punch list items, and they do it and they deliver it, and then they wait for Upwork to pay. So I was very grateful that a company like Opus took the time to put together those items that were going to be the punch list. The one thing I will also say, and a big kind of going back to your original question of some of the challenges, having someone that understood the code of the developers. So developers would deliver something and they would say it would be X dollar amount or Y, timeline. I'm not a developer. I can barely do a WordPress button. So I would always take what they said at face value. And I think the difference of having someone that does the testing on your end, someone that does the code review, so I'm not having to sit there at the end of the day going, is this quality? And is it really costing this much, or is it really taking this much time? So I was pleasantly surprised that was sort of baked into the service. So again, back to that sort of plug and play, type of feeling. I was very fortunate in November of 2022 to sell part of my business to a great company in the food industry, which for me, I think with any entrepreneur, you wait for those big moments. Unfortunately, they often don't happen, but big risk, but potentially huge reward on the upside of it. And I was lucky to have part of the company be acquired in November. I think the acquisition was smooth when it came to the development and the technology side, because it was an IP purchase, because I had your support, to be honest with you. I mean, I remember there were a couple of your team members that would sit on the kind of exploratory calls with this company. They needed to make sure that the technology was sound. I mean, again, going back to the fact that I'm not a developer, could they trust me? So having that level of experience, having that level of skill set, and your acumen coming through part of those conversations, absolutely, I think, sped up the successful, transaction for us. I think the impact on, your services and how that impacted our business, I would probably go back to the pivotal moment in November where we were able to successfully have an exit. That was a huge impact because it enabled me to then shift the company's focus into something that I've always wanted to do. I think you gave us space to have that quality thinking, to go, right, where is this business going? What is my North Star? It's great because there's someone that's handling the technical side of things, whereas software as a service, we support large restaurant chains. I need to know that their platform was taken care of, while I could work on the business and not in the business. So I think your experience, the way the team approached the projects, the way they worked with us, our relationship really impacted where we're moving to, because you afforded me that thinking time that I needed to pivot and evolve the company. As an entrepreneur, you're always kind of interested and thirsty for the next big thing. Maybe this will be it. And you're always, I think, typically 5 to 7 years ahead of where the industry is. And it takes a long time for people to find their, fans and followers of the business. I think you in particular, Chris, were really good at kind of focusing me back on this is the scope, this is the project, here is the budget. We can do this, but it's going to push things. And I think, again, as an entrepreneur, having those guardrails are really, really important, because it's not part of who we are. We're like, oh, shiny, 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 let's do this. So I know I'm kind of going back to sort of some of the original questions around the sort of the benefits of working with Opus, and some of the pieces that mattered to us, to me, to choose you and to work with you guys for the years that I have. I think that is really important, and it is worth to be said that having those sort of guardrails again on, you may want to build all these features right now, but that's not part of the scope, and it's going to push things. And I think you were very good at kind of keeping us aligned to the focus and the mission. Otherwise, you have a runaway train. What would I say to another client thinking to come on board? I would say do it. Would be the first thing. I think, I feel that your team, and absolutely, push back if I'm not right on this, I think your team is so good at getting things over the line. And it kind of says that on your site. You're there to help the entrepreneur become a successful business owner. You take an idea and then you move it through to ideation to actually, a product or a platform. I think as long as you have your vision as an entrepreneur, as long as you have your vision or you have your North Star as the business before they go to hire you, I think the two complement each other really well. I think your team in particular are good at doing and solving and completing, which is not typical, I think, in technology. I'm even, still learning that. The timeline is 6 weeks and the developers say we'll do it in 3, but you actually do it in 12. I think the company and the team that you've built has really excelled at taking it to the finish line and actually crossing it. So my recommendation to anyone who is considering working with Opus is do it, but make sure you're ready to execute the skill set that is available, because you'll do it. You'll get them to the finish line, but have your finish line, well thought out so you can do what you do best and hit the ground running.